Welcome to the show today. And today it's a long title, so I'm going to read it. The show is about different stages of your parents' lives. They talk about the birth order, what order you're born in, which makes you different, how the different birth order. I read that book, 30 years ago, I guess, called The Birth Order Book, something like that. And how when you are born in the birth order, different stages, that you can have a different type of personality. I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. That could be a good thing. But I want to talk about the different stages of your parents' lives and how that could affect your childhood and how you grow up. Now, the first child is usually the more responsible child because the parents are just learning. They're poor. They don't have as much money. Their jobs aren't as well. I mean, if they both work, the one might just be making minimum wage or just a little above that when they first get married in their early 20s or late 20s or whenever. Even in your 30s, you're not making as much money. So the first child, the oldest, whether girl or boy, I'm not going to go into that girl or boy thing, but with the parents not making it much money in the stages of their lives, the oldest child is usually more responsible. And I'm not saying this is in every case, but in the parents' lives, the parents don't make as much money when they're first married. Usually they don't anyway, unless the mother or father decides to be stay-at-home parent, and then they might make less, and then they have to do with less than, the first child they decide to have. When the parent that stays home, there's less money. They might even have to watch everything even more and have less money. Okay. And then the stages of your life, with your parents' stages of your lives, you could be a helicopter parent at first, like hovering over the child. Okay, I want to confess to you guys right now here on my YouTube channel that I was that parent. Worse than ever when I was first a parent. First I had a miscarriage. I lost that child. I was only like 4 months pregnant and I had a miscarriage, which sort of made me a little crazy for a while. There's things that happen in your life, and if you'd have that miscarriage after you had one healthy baby, you could maybe that could affect the oldest child too. The stages of your parents' lives, things going on in their lives could affect the way you raise that child, like the one that's raised before the miscarriage. Now, the helicopter happened for me after I had the miscarriage, and I had a happy, healthy baby girl, and then I helicoptered over her like, you're gonna fall, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. But the one thing I am confessing today that I did that was really not right to do to her, and there's probably other things that I did and helicoptered over her that I should have left her try harder to do it herself, and it didn't help her sometimes to do that. In the stage of my life after the miscarriage, and I had a healthy baby, we lived in a trailer court at that time, in the stages of our lives, the parents of children. And we lived in a trailer, a mobile home, a 14 by 70 yellow mobile home in a trailer park. And the trailers were really close together. So my little first one, when she was like 18 months old, would run up and down the hall of that 14 by 70 trailer, yelling and singing at the top of her lungs, which I loved her singing, and she loved singing. And this was so wrong of me to go around saying to her, "Shh, you're too loud. The neighbors are going to hear you. Shh, you're too loud. The neighbors are going to hear you." And that was crazy of me to do that to her. Let her have fun. It wasn't like they were sleeping. It was like in the afternoon or early evening when she'd do that, or run around during the day when we were home on Saturdays or Sundays. Because I worked full time when she was just a baby. There's another stage of my life. I worked full time for the Pennsylvania Army National Guard up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for the 28th Infantry Division Data Center as a computer operator. So I wasn't around as much. She stayed with my sister, and she cried a lot as an infant. I went back to work when she was 2 weeks old, because I was having trouble with the pregnancy, with swelling. I can't remember the exact term that the doctor used. So I went back to work. I stayed home 4 weeks because I had 6 weeks of leave for maternity. But I stayed home 4 weeks because of the swelling and keep my legs up and stay in bed or on the sofa, the couch, whatever you want to call it, sofa or couch. And then she was only 2 weeks old when I went back to work. Can I go back in time and change that? No. But that affects, now she was with my older sister, who was a very excellent babysitter. So she was with a good woman, but her husband worked night shift, and then I learned later that when my daughter would cry, it would wake him up. So yeah, and that wasn't a good thing. She had to try to keep her quiet more often, but I wish I would have just been a stay-at-home mother and done without a lot of things that I thought I needed or wanted. But I can't go back in time. But this is how the stages of your parents' lives can affect you. Because my daughter always says, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" She's a people pleaser. I love her to death. I would die for her, my oldest, but she's a people pleaser. And I think with her being concerned about noise and let's do everything just right, she's a perfectionist too, which I was the helicopter parent who did that. The stages of your parents' lives that change you or make you who you are. And I'm sorry for that if she's watching this. Sorry for that, my oldest daughter, my oldest child. Then the stages of your life as you're making more money, we moved to a house. So my second child, born 3 years later, in 1984, because this is 1983, but 1980 was the first. It doesn't matter what year it is, but I'm just trying to explain that the stages of your parents' lives can make your personality different. Now, the second daughter, we had a home that was solidly built. It wasn't noisy when you run up and down the hallways or whatever she did. And I didn't hover over her. I wasn't a helicopter parent anymore like that. And I decided when she was just little yet that I was going to be a stay-at-home mother. And we did with less. We did with a lot less things. So she wasn't spoiled in that way. But I was there, and I made so many mistakes. Like we went out the door to check because we were putting an above-ground 18 by 4, 18-round pool up, and I went out to check on that, and I took the 3-year-old with me, and the door locked behind us, and we had a baby sleeping in the crib, and we had to go through all kinds of things. But of course she was only little then, like 8-9 months old or whatever, and it didn't bother her or affect her. But we had more money to do that. My husband had a much better job then, and we really didn't lose a lot of money by me not working, because I was still in weekends for the drills for Pennsylvania Army National Guard. But it can affect you, like the birth order of children can affect by the income of the parent, where you live, what kind of structure you live in, what neighborhood you live in. The neighborhood was much better, with people that weren't as close and on top of you, like in a trailer court. And the second daughter had more of a solid house to live in, and I was a happier parent too, because I didn't have to get up every day and put on a uniform and go to a job every day and leave her at a babysitter, which was my sister, but it still was harder on me. And a lot of times when I went back to work when she was like almost 4, 3.5, 4, or something like that, when she was still young enough that she could talk. But I went back to work, and I'd come home miserable again and take it out on them when they were just like 6 and 9 and 9 and 12. And I'd say ugly things like, I brought subs and you made tacos, and I fed the sub to the dog by tearing it up in little pieces. I'm guilty of that because of my emotions, and I don't want to go to my childhood, but I'm just saying this in this show today, that different stages of your parents' lives can affect you. Like if there's something traumatic, I can go to my dad. When he was just an infant, 8, 9 months old, his older brother was 5 or 6. I'm not going to say those exact years because I don't know. Got run over by a trolley in Philadelphia, one of those trolley cars, when he was sled riding, and lost a leg and some of his fingers, like his leg from his right above his knee down. And I'm telling you, that became the parents' main focus, that trauma in their life from their son getting run over by a trolley. And it made a big difference in the lives of all those kids. Nobody's going to change my mind on that. I know that's the truth. And if you lose a job or your income, or you have to foreclose on a house and lose your house, the older children that are older, 7, 8, 9, aren't going to be affected like the 2, 3-year-old when you're going through that foreclosure and that heartache and that depression or hard time. If you're having some kind of a like postpartum blues, it affects each child. The birth order, it does affect. You're not all raised by the same two parents, even though you're 10, 12 years apart or even 15, 20 years apart. You're all going to be exactly alike because it's the same parents. That is crap. That's not true. So the show today was on different stages of your parents' lives. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. You just keep singing, dancing, making music. Have a great day.